Give us a little bit of your background, Ted, what you did for your professional life, and then how you got into Greek and what that's been like.
Well, thanks again, Rob, for this opportunity. And I want to, I'm so happy to see some fellow classmates who were on the Israel trip in 2023 on the Colossians course as well. Just a little bit about me before I start. I'm a retired physician scientist. I first started my secular career um, on the faculty at New York University School of Medicine in the departments of biochemistry and medicine. Um, I was in academics for the first 10 years of my career or so, and then I transitioned to take my research skills into the pharmaceutical industry, and that's where I spent the remaining part of my career in the pharmaceutical research area, and then retired in 2022.
Could
Uh,
I make a footnote there? You
yep,
worked on the drug Eliquis for a lot of that time, is that correct?
that
And
is
as
right.
I have numerous family members with uh, a gene that causes blood clotting, factor V Leiden, who are on Eliquis, I have Ted and his team to thank for their continued life. Really, in many ways, that drug has saved many members of my family's life. So thank you for that, Ted. So,
Well, thanks for your kind words. I'm also a lay elder at my church. I currently a lay elder there, and I help in playing the organ to serve in that ministry there at my church. Um, so my journey, I was thinking back. I'm only a recent student of biblical Greek, but it goes but those roots go back quite a while. I was thinking about it. It was in the late 1990s that I was first introduced to a interlinear Greek New Testament by J. Green. I used that as a tool to help me identify the number of the Strong's number of the Greek word to do word studies. Using the Greek word as my base. So yeah, I was able to use Strong's concordance, the Thayer's lexicon, and the Englishman's Greek concordance and lexicon. All those tools really to help my word studies as I continued to study the Bible. But I found that it was so tempting to dismiss certain meanings or dismiss word occurrences that that didn't seem to fit what I expected to find, and I thought that was so wrong. It's because I was ignorant about about what the Greek word really means, and it depends on context. And so that started to really gnaw at me. Um, so I thought then the next best thing was um, to read biblical text in different translations, and I did. I grew up reading from the RSV. But in my adult life, I really spent most of my time using the NIV 84 and then the ESV and most recently the CSB as my primary reading texts. But obviously, I read from multiple translations, including King James, New King James, the NASB 95, and um, um, say New King James. Yeah. But anyway, I read multiple texts and I thought, well, that would give me a better handle, but it still wasn't, to me, it was still gnawing at me that I wasn't really maybe understanding the original and the inspired author's intent in communicating what he did. So I thought the best way was really to learn the original language. And so Greek was the first one, and I'm still in it. And so that didn't start until 2007. That was my first attempt in self-study. I used Bill Mounce's second edition as my text. And, with self-study, any kind of self-study, you have to be highly motivated and disciplined to do that. I got through a lot of the textbook, but, the things of life, work, started interrupting and started encroaching in that discipline. And so when you don't use it, in this case, I really lost it all. I tried again. A couple more times in 2009. I was looking back at my textbooks, and 2013. Again, both were unsuccessful attempts. And again, I used the Bill Mounce's text, the old second edition, since I had that. And but then a friend recommended another textbook that he thought was really easy to follow, and I thought, okay, I'll give it a try. It was David Allen Black's book. And I actually looked at both textbooks this morning. The Bill Mounce book, I can see my highlights and my markings up to through chapter 9, but then no more markings after that. David Allen's textbook, I went up to chapter 6, and no more markings after that. So I was quite discouraged. But during the pandemic, had the opportunity, and I actually started searching YouTube videos on learning beginning Greek. And I came across a series of videos by someone by the name of Daryl Burling with, at that time, it was called Mastering New Testament Greek. He had a number of instructional videos, a lot of encouraging videos. So it really started building up my, sort of reinvigorating my desire and interest to study Greek again. And I came across a couple of his videos that introduce Dr. Plummer's textbook. And so I thought, wow, and that it was at the time it was felt he felt that this was, probably in one textbook, the best way to start uh beginning Greek, learning beginning Greek. And so I went to the website. But at that time, my pastor, knowing my desire to learn Greek, directed me to the Daily Dose of Greek website too. So when those two pieces of information came together and I went to the website, I found out that also there is a whole series of instructional videos that Dr. Plummer had put together to accompany the textbook, chapter by chapter, 24 chapters. I said, wow. So I got really excited. So I started during the pandemic. Again, because of things of life, the declining health of my wife's father at the time, and then his passing, um, my mother's declining health and her passing, all those things kind of interrupted that newfound energy to study Greek again. But when I retired in 2022, I went right to it. And I finished the course, went through the whole textbook, went through that, started reading first, second, third John. Um, oh, I forgot to say that during the time of the videos that I was watching on YouTube, I was introduced to a method of studying vocabulary that the Mastering New Testament Greek group had recommended. Um, and it was studying vocabulary book by book in a graded way. So I started doing that, and that helped propel me in reading. Um, and I met Rob in his on the trip to Israel, and
Did
really
you wait,
enjoyed.
did you go to the Greek review course we had too, or was that after the trip?
Yes, that was right after the trip.
Okay, yeah.
That was in
Okay.
2023 in
Yeah.
July. Yeah, so after we came back from the trip, I went through that Greek review class. Um, so that was really what propelled me in studying basic New Testament Greek. And really, from that point on, I've been much more consistent and disciplined to read, and especially through Daily Dose of Greek, every day, a little bit of the New Testament, and learn vocabulary. And so, with these courses from Adullam through with Philippians through Jude and Colossians now, studying vocabulary. And by the way, that app that you recommended, Rob, the Greek New Testament vocabulary app. Oh,
GNT
that was
vocab,
yeah, GNT
gntvocab.com.
vocab.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's been instrumental. I find that unless you really know the vocabulary, you can't really read, and
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
has been so instrumental in.
And that app's so great because you can just do it by book or even by the chapter, right, within the New Testament book. So you can very focused work.
Yeah. So I do that. I study the words in a chapter first. Then once I finish that, I include all the other books that I've had, and then just to review everything again. but I liked the way that they did it. They did it in a timed way, and when you mistake in it, the response, it reviews back the word at some point near the time that you made the mistake. So it reinforces your learning. So that has been really instrumental. But the time put into it has just been I've been reaping so much benefits. And studying Greek caused me to really go much slower in my reading to then digest really what the text is saying. And I really appreciated that. It's that's been an eye opener for me to slow down in my reading and digest really verse by verse, almost phrase by phrase. So um,
Well, I know that's an encouragement to others because
hmm,
your story is very similar. It's common to have people to, and obviously, Ted, you're a very intelligent and hardworking person. You have an MD and a PhD. You're a research scientist, but
I
just
don't have a PhD, sorry,
oh
Rob.
well, I'm
But I
sorry,
did. I
MD
read
with
research
doing research. Yeah,
anyway.
yeah. You're but it's hard to have the self-discipline, isn't it? To, life gets busy, as you said, all these things happen, and it's easy to have these starts where people start and then stop and start and then stop. And so I hope your story of then finally latching on and finishing and continuing is encouraging to those who've been struggling with that you can get over that start and stop. Is there any ex exhortation you give to someone who feels like they're kind of stuck in the start and stop mode?
I would say persevere. It's
Persevere.
overcoming that. And
Yeah.
yeah, it's really perseverance because that would eventually you see the reaping of benefits when you do persevere.
Hmm. It's a good word.